I went to a local high school basketball game with my friend Donnie. And we were sitting there watching the game. And out on the floor, I saw a player steal the ball. He intercepted a pass. He dribbled through all these other players, got down the floor. By that time, 3 of the others were guarding him. He made a beautiful pass to a teammate. The teammate took a beautiful shot and made it. And I applauded. And Donnie leaned over and whispered to me, Father Herb, you just applauded for the other team. I think he was embarrassed. And I said, I know. But I recognize good when I see it. So it was the other team, so what? It was still a beautiful play. And of course, the fact that our team was up by 15 points didn't really hurt anything anyway. But the idea of applauding for somebody from the other team is almost anathema for so many of us. We just kind of get caught in our own little world. A couple of other quick examples. It's happened to me. It probably has happened to you. So many of us sit on committees or organizational meetings, and sometimes there's people that we don't normally agree with, and we're in the middle of the meeting, and they come up with actually a wonderful idea, a good idea. And for us to admit, hey, that is good, even though they're not necessarily in agreement with us, that is where we learn to recognize the good where it can be found. Or an example a woman told me is she said she brought a dish to a potluck. You know, we have potlucks all the time. I've noticed potlucks are kind of fun to go to because usually people bring their best. They want to impress everybody else, but they want to share their best. So she brought a side dish that she was very proud of, and she set it on the serving table and discovered someone else had brought pretty much the same thing. So when she went through line, as a courtesy, she took some of the other as well as her own. And she had to admit afterwards the other one was better. Very hard to admit. You see, we all get caught up, I'll call it tribalism. We get caught up in a sense of tribalism that our world is the best world. Our group is the best group. Our way of looking at things is not only the best way, but perhaps the only way. And actually, that's what was happening in the gospel with John. Remember, this is the Apostle John, the beloved disciple, the one who was so close to Jesus. And I think he was being very defensive of Jesus when he came to Jesus and said, Lord, Master, we saw someone else who's not part of our group casting out demons in your name. We tried to stop him. And Jesus said, recognize good where it is. If he's not against me, he's for me. Wow, what a challenge to be able to recognize good. I mentioned tribalism. Tribalism is not the same as community, because those of you who know me know that I like to support community in many ways, but they are really quite different. I think the difference is found in the 2 words, close and closed. Some people seek to be close, but they settle for closed. Closed is when we don't allow outside influences to come in, no new ideas, and if new people come in, they have to be just like us. Plus, ideas inside aren't allowed to go out, like living in a bubble. Call it tribalism. Close, on the other hand, means that we care about the other person. We have a common vision with the other person. Maybe we have a common goal to bring each other to a betterment, and we're always looking for what's going to make us better, and not just the same. We can be close and different. In fact, the healthy community allows differences. Through the centuries, men and women of faith have chosen to live in community to help each other out. We have the religious communities, the monasteries, the convents, the cloistered nuns, but we also have groups of laity, and maybe they're not able to go apart from their families, but they still live in community with each other. and they pull the best out of each other because they become aware that not only do we need to recognize the good, we also need to recognize the bad and the influence of the bad. And that leads us to the second part of the gospel, which was probably very harsh for most people to hear this morning. You know, a beautiful Sunday morning in late September, you come to church and you hear about, don't you dare mislead a child, or cut off your hand, or cut off your foot, or pluck out your eye. These are hard things to take, and obviously all of those things are spoken in hyperbole, lots of exaggeration. But the point is saying there are bad influences on us, and we have to recognize them. And the bad influence could be the way we spend our time. It could be how we surround ourselves. It could be the influences that we have little control over. So we band together with others in community to counteract the bad influences with the good. And we look for the good where the good can be found. We recognize the good, and that allows a transformation of heart. And let me tell you, both the good and the bad can be very subtle. And they can kind of sneak in when you're not even aware of it. I remember a college student when I was pastor at St. Thomas More in Bowling Green. A college student came from New Hampshire, and he had the wonderful New England accent, and we all loved it. He was a lecturer at Mass. We loved to listen to him. I remember the day he read from Genesis, and God said to Noah, build me an ark. And we loved it, and we all appreciated it because it helped us listen more closely. But then something strange happened. The following summer, he went back to New England. And his family and his friends all said to him, where did you get that funny accent? By the way, we never think of ourselves as having an accent, do we? It's always the other people. He had lost, because he was surrounded by people from Northwest Ohio. He had lost what we admired, but the people back there weren't so sure that they liked what they heard. These influences sneak in on us when we're looking the other way. And we don't worry too much about somebody's accent, but it's indicative of all the other influences. We have to be careful. We have to be careful. Sometimes we are influencing others in ways that we don't want to, so we have to ask ourselves, what's it all about? But the only way to survive is not go it alone, and not being tribal, but being communal, and saying, let's work together to bring the best out of each person so we too can be disciples of Christ together.